Welcome to The Brain Changers, a podcast about learning how to revolutionize the way you think and live by mastering your mind. We're your hosts, mother and daughter duo Rebecca and Yvonne King from Moonbeam Monday. Our goal is to empower you to live the life you choose by teaching you how to retrain your brain. Some people tell us it sounds like mind control, and it is, but not the way you might think. This is about you taking control of your own mind rather than letting your mind control you, so you can choose to live a life free from the expectations of others. No matter what you've experienced in the past, you can create positive change and transformation by learning how to master your mind. We know this because we've done it. Between us, we've survived cancer and stroke and eliminated debilitating anxiety and depression. We've turned our pain into purpose through the power of our mind, and we're now here to support and guide you to do the same. In this podcast, we share valuable insights about how your brain works, why you think, say, and do the things you do, how to begin the process of change, and why it's necessary. Because we know that when you change your mind, you change your life. Thanks for joining us. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Brain Changers podcast. My name is Rebecca King, and today I am welcoming a truly wonderful human, my friend Mel McLaren, the founder of Walk Sublime, Walking with Horses in Nature, where she enables deeply moving, heart-led connections between horse and human. Mel, welcome. It is great to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you, Beck. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. Mel, it's actually a really good time, I think, to have this conversation because just a couple of days ago, I was up at your beautiful farm, able to experience your Just Be offering. And this was the first time that I got to experience this one in particular. I have been lucky enough to be on a few Walk Sublimes with you, but as someone who has people who know me know I don't like the word busy, but someone who has a full life, running businesses, having a job, podcast, all of that kind of thing. It was such a beautiful experience to be up there, to just be in the paddock with a couple of your gorgeous horses. And even at one point, just getting to lie down on the ground, grounding myself in that paddock. So I think this is perfect timing to be able to have this chat with you because I am feeling nice and relaxed. So thank you for having me on Saturday.
You had such a beautiful day for it too.
It was perfect. Mel, I'd love to start off just by asking you to share a little bit about your journey to create Walk Sublime, because this is not something that is done anywhere else in Australia, to my knowledge, or perhaps not even anywhere else in the world. So what is it that led you to create Walk Sublime and work with horses in this way?
At the surface level, it was all about actually nothing more than me knowing that I wanted to be able to trail ride. That's always been my love with horses, is exploring trails together in the Aussie bush. So I actually grew up in Sydney, nothing to do with being on the land, nothing to do with horses per se, other than a love of horses on my father's side and an auntie, his sister, who had horses. So I was lucky as a child to be able to spend time with her and her horses and a teenager. But that was it. So once I started working and earning my own money, so to speak, I would save up, and how I would spend my annual leave is seeking out different horse trekking adventures, if you will. So I've done some incredible treks in Australia and the high country of Victoria and around the world. And that's how I knew horses. I only knew horses, A, from a ridden perspective, and B, from a very uneducated, non-technical, just for the joy of it, exploring the trail in the bush. So I had this dream of wanting to live my life with horses on my own land, on a farm, for the sole purpose of being able to explore the trail together. And I thought that that would be in the saddle from a ridden perspective. And to some extent, it is. But you can have a dream for 30 years plus, and you can create it and live it as I am now. It literally has manifested itself by the time I turned 40. So at the age of 40 is the first time I was ever able to look for my first horse. Mm-hmm. So it was 4 decades in the making. And South Australia was not really in the plan. It's just how kind of life unfolded. As soon as I moved to Adelaide, I knew I was never going back to Sydney. And I think the life here is incredibly privileged. And then through a series of twists and turns and very, very, very low point in my life, which was now 4 years ago, and I believe it's the lowest point of my life, and it's only up from here on. That was the loss of my younger brother to cancer, all within 8 months. And the same month he was diagnosed, my ex-husband walked out, which meant that we then had to go through property settlement. And I had to fight to keep my dream, the farm that we had bought together 2 years earlier. And by then I had 3 horses. They were all young. And to get back to your original question, on the surface level, where did walking with horses in nature come from? I knew that I had to set my horses up for success to be able to ride on trail solo. And by that, I mean with no other horse, just my horse and I. And they were so young, they were only 2 and 3 years of age. You don't really start a horse under saddle until they're at least 5, until they're fully developed physically and mentally, more mature. So as soon as I could reliably load them onto the float, which was quite a journey in and of itself, 3-year journey, and investment in private tuition to actually get to that point where I was able to reliably load the horses, I started taking one horse out, just the horse and myself, to the forest, and it was all for their benefit. And what happened was, funny how life unfolds and funny how the timing happens, that I'd started doing that literally 3 months before the diagnosis of my brother and my ex-husband leaving. And that then became a hell of a year. That was during the peak of COVID, isolation, and that was a really awful year. And I found that being in the forest with my horse, I was just shocked, repeatedly shocked, that they were happy to be there with me and that they chose to be there by my side. And what I mean by that is that they are flight animals, they are prey animals. If they are frightened or anxious, their first inclination is to run. And no matter how, I always say to our guests, Arnold Schwarzenegger himself would not be able to hold a horse if they chose to turn and run. And nobody disputes that. So you need the horse to trust in you and to want to be with you in order to have a safe and joyful, happy time together. And this is how it unfolded. So, of course, the more pleasantly surprised and the more times that I realised how happy we both were, and that they wanted to be out there. They were happy to get on the float and they wanted to come and explore the trail with me, the more I sought it out. And so that got me through. I didn't know it at the time, but that got me through the very lowest point of my life. Then I said goodbye to my brother at his funeral over in New South Wales. And by the time that I came back from that and was able to face the world again out of that grief, or accept the grief and live with the grief, I suppose, I then went straight into a pretty nasty property settlement battle. Didn't have to be that way, but that wasn't my choice, and that involved lawyers. And I said to myself, if I win this as in if I get to keep the farm and the home of by then I had 5 rehomed horses. They've all either been saved or rescued or given a forever home. That's really important to note. And if I didn't keep this property, if I lost it in the property settlement, I had no idea of what my life would be. because by then I was mid-40s almost, no career by choice. I'd always been in charge of our property portfolio, did very well that way, building that up. And I had no children by choice, and I just had my best friend and business partner and husband leave me. So if I lost the farm and the horses and my dogs, my big dogs, then I didn't know what life was going to be for me. So there really wasn't a choice.
Yeah.
And I had to do everything I could. And as fate panned out, I won the property settlement. I kept the farm. He got more than his fair share in the property portfolio, and we went our separate ways. And I said that if I win this, I am going to put myself out there, and I'm going to accept that I could fail. I've talked about starting my own business. I did a business degree at uni. I've talked about starting my own business for more than 20 years. And I'm going to start a business offering these beautiful rehomed horses that have been on their own healing journey with me through the forest as walking partners for people. And I remember my dad and others right at the start, this is 2022 now, but who would pay to walk with a horse? Why would you do that? And I didn't have an answer. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't, but I just wanted to try.
Yeah.
I didn't know how other people would receive it. I didn't really care, actually, because I just watched my brother die at 38 years of age, and I thought, I want to try this, and I'm prepared for it to fail. I have to try it. And so what I say, I've written a story that's on our website under about us. And what I say in that story is that everything that I've done and am doing, I feel like we, the horses and I, are just at the tip of the iceberg, is in his honour. I consider this to be his legacy. His name was Brendan.
Wow. I'm almost moved to tears hearing you talk about this, Mel. And I, of course, know this story because I met you back around that time. But what a beautiful legacy, to remember your brother by and to bring to other people. Because the gift that you give other people by offering these experiences or this experience, even if it's something you do once in your lifetime, although I guarantee you do it once, you're going to want to go back. I can go back as I do. But what a true gift that you're giving to people. There's so many things that you were just talking about that I love and I'd love to touch on. I think there'll be a lot of listeners resonating with what you've said here in one way or the other, Mel, in that often things like this, whether it's starting a business or having a big career change or ending a relationship or going on a big world trip, they often come through the lowest points in our life. My own story has something to do with that as well. And often it's the best thing that comes out of the worst possible thing you've ever been able to imagine. So I know, I know there'll be a lot of people resonating with that.
It's the only way I can make any sense of the loss of my brother. I just cannot explain it.
Exactly.
So I see what you mean.
Yeah, and that's a real what's the word? That's a real skill, actually, being able to turn something so terrible, so devastating into a positive, and it often does take a lot of time. And I would never suggest to somebody that this is just something that you should or could do straight away. I lost my dad when I was 16, and I never would have thought it at the time. It took me probably almost 2 decades to be able to see some of the good things, or at least the positives that could be taken from that, the things that it taught me, the people that I met afterwards, and now what I'm able to do through helping people through that experience. So it is possible, but of course it can take time. And something that you mentioned there about rehomed horses, and I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that in a moment, but you've healed with these horses, or you're healing with these
That's a good
horses,
word.
yeah, who are also healing. And so I'd love to just ask you a little bit more about that. Perhaps you can tell us, you've got 7 horses now, 7 or 8?
Seven.
7 horses
Yes,
now.
as
And they're
we've got
as you said, they're rehomed, they're or saved or rescued. So can you perhaps just tell us a little bit about how you come about these horses or how they find their way into your life?
Yeah, that's they've each got really quite a fascinating story in their own right. So I'll probably just have to choose one example, I would have
Yeah.
thought. Um, Before I do, I'd like to acknowledge you've just shared your loss of your father, and I'd like to acknowledge that. And key to what I teach with the horses is acknowledgement, and that's why I make a point of saying that. To answer your question about the horses, if I was to give you an example of Saxon. So
Hmm.
Saxon is an Andalusian cross. We don't quite know his birthday because he was abandoned as a foal around about 4 months, so very young, earlier than a foal should be weaned from their mother. The story is very patchy, but it has to do with the owner of the mother taking the mother and leaving the foal behind. I don't understand why you would do that. A lady, this is over in New South Wales, a lady was contacted to say, I know you take in horses, would you take in this foal? He can't stay here, wherever he was. And she said, oh, okay. So she went and got him. Anyway, Saxon grew up with her. She had a young daughter, about 6 years old, and he grew and grew because Andalusians are a big, broad, strong breed. And the lady, as he got older, I got to almost 2 years of age, she lost confidence. A young horse, and particularly a big, strong horse. And then on top of that, this horse is a particularly strong willed individual.
Hmm.
So that's a combination that can be daunting, if you will. So she actually advertised him for rehoming. So, as in, he needs a home.
Hmm.
So, when a horse is rehomed, there's a price on them, but it's really only to make sure that they're not snapped up by someone looking to make $400 by coming and telling you a story and then putting them in the float and taking them to the meat market where they'll get their body weight in it could be $300 or $400 for the body weight of the horse. So you always rehome a horse with a small price tag on it. That's about $1,000. And she advertised him on Gumtree. Now, I say this on purpose because not many people in the horse world would look for a horse on Gumtree. And the
Mm.
point of sharing this with you is to highlight I had no idea back in 2018. All I knew about horses was how to stay on and
More than
in
some.
in terms of looking for a horse, keeping a horse, training a horse, I knew absolutely nothing. And in fact, you might even say I knew negative because I thought I knew enough. It never, I didn't really stop to think, should I be seeking professional advice here before I go looking for horses to give forever homes to? So I looked on Gumtree and there was Saxon, and I love Andalusians. They're my favorite breed, a Spanish breed. And I went by my gut. I spoke to the lady on the phone. I asked for videos. I organised what they call a vet check, where the local vet checks this horse over. And that's how Saxon came to me. Now, as it turns out, I always, just to reassure everyone, I always intended to find a trainer and mentor, and I did. The universe crossed our paths, and I found one of the top professional trainers in Australia, as far as I'm concerned. And she then taught me the foundations of everything that I now know over a period of about 3 years of one-on-one lessons, if you will.
Mm.
So this horse Saxon, the first thing she said to me is he's a one in a million. He's like a dog in a horse's body. And what she meant by that is that he just wants to be with you. He loves people and
Mm.
he tries so hard to make you happy. And his big, 520 kilo clumsy body, he just he was born for this. He was born to be a walking partner. Now, he can be ridden. Saxon and I do ride very, very occasionally, but he was born for this work. Now, every one of these horses appears to have the same story.
Yeah. Yes. Well,
Come to me in different means.
it's like, yes, it's true, isn't it? And I've heard the story. I think I've heard the story of most of how the horses came to you, and which I love listening to them. I loved hearing Scout's story on the weekend, and then Bliss, your brand new Brumby, who is just adorable. And I'm lucky enough to be on your website on the Just Be tile with a beautiful moment that you captured of me and Bliss on Saturday. We're having a bit of it's almost like a kissy lissy moment,
Yes,
which
that's what I was going to say.
I really love. So go and check it out. But you mentioned the word fate earlier, and I know you're a believer in the universe. You know, you and I, we've had so many conversations. That first conversation we had over a bonfire all those years ago, and we talked all things universe and mindfulness and the brain. But it appears to me that you're attracting these beautiful souls. Again, going back to that, you're looking for something and they're looking for something, and together you're creating this experience. You're helping each other heal, and along the way you're actually offering that for other people, because I imagine that a lot of the people that come to you for this beautiful experience of walking with horses in nature, or whether it be the Just Be experience, they are also looking for something. So I wonder, there's perhaps no typical, and I put that in air quotes, there's no typical Walk Sublime experience, but what is it that you find that people are coming to you for this particular experience?
Oh, it's very hard to answer that for that reason, because it's so individual. And the honest answer is most people don't actually register. They're not actually conscious of why they are drawn to book this experience. That's been what I have observed over the 3 years. It's our 3-year birthday this month, actually.
Oh,
And that's what I've observed over the 3 years. We've now walked with more than 350 individuals.
wow.
And so that's 350 different answers to what you've just
Yeah,
asked me.
yeah.
What I really want to say, though, there's obviously common threads through all of this.
Yes.
And what I'd love to say, firstly, is that um, uh, just a fraction more about me to say that there's not a flowing skirt in my wardrobe. There's not a tattoo on my body. There's not a piercing. There's no crystals in my home. I read the word and pronounced it Reiki. I didn't know what it was. I
Mhm.
just want to be really clear that I have come from a very left brain,
Mm.
trained as an accountant, worked in the corporate world, always thought of myself as very logical, very rational, scientific and evidence-based, etc., etc. So the reason I make a point of that is what the horses have taught me themselves. So sharing daily life with now 7 horses over 6 years is through all the things I have learned, that when you are able to hear, feel, listen to, become aware of your own intuition, and that takes a whole set of skills, of which the horses are wonderful role models for. When you are able to access or tap into your own intuition and willing to, that's when life unfolds for you on the path that you are destined to walk or to take. So, coming back to the question that you've just asked me, what draws people to come and do this? There's a surface level answer to that, that the horses are magnificent, that particularly if you're a horse lover and always have been, obviously it instantly appeals. Obviously what we do and the imagery instantly appeals to people that are horse lovers, that maybe would love to own their own horse one day and maybe will, but right now, for whatever reason, they don't have their own horse. So on the surface level, that's why I set up the business. It was to share my dearly loved horses with people that didn't have access to a horse themselves. That's what I thought I was doing. But over 3 years, there are so many layers. And through the experiences of our guests and then their feedback, either at the time, in the moment, through emotional release, if you will. So sometimes tears, not all the time. Or just wonderful, open, really honest conversation, or sometimes no conversation at all, but then an incredible reflection sent to me via email, for example, or more public in a review that's written to support us. All these different means have then fed back to me the power of what people, and I say people, not women, it's men, women, children, so far from the ages of 4 to 84. This is relevant and powerfully helpful for every human being, really, every human being.
Yeah.
And it's, I hope to have given you a sense of what it offers, the strength and the power of what something so humble. It's a very simple act to walk alongside a horse. And if you didn't know horses and their nature, and if you didn't understand that their natural instincts are to turn and run the moment they feel threatened or anxious about something that their senses have picked up on, which could be as simple as a kangaroo behind the tree a few meters away that we actually can't see, or it could be something more such as a branch is about to come down from overhead that we haven't yet picked up on. So their senses are far superior to ours. They live purely through their physical and metaphysical senses, if you will. So very, very sensitive to changes in energy, and what coming and either just being with the horses, as you've talked about, or walking alongside the horse in the forest, what it starts to show you, because it's embodied, it's something that you feel. So I'm able to give you guidance, but I can't tell you. You have to feel it for yourself. And that's what's happening when we're out in the forest on the trail, or when you're in the paddock with the horses around you. That's what people are feeling. And it's I can sit here and try and find different words, but at the end of the day, it's an incredibly powerful feeling that comes over you. And the result of it is that it's uplifting. It's joyous. Many people use the word float, that they're floating all the way home, that they're still floating days afterwards. There is not one walk that I've done, and we're coming up for 500 different sessions that we've done in our 3 years because of repeat customers, repeat sessions booked. And there's not one session where I'm not on a high afterwards. It's just the most incredible. I know, wholesome is a word. Wholesome really is a good word for me. I'm someone that, as I said, no tattoos, never touched a cigarette, very straight. That's me. I like things done by the book. I like to follow the rules. And I have learned through life with the horses that there are, in fact, many shades of grey, that life actually isn't black and white, and it's actually not about right and wrong. So I really want to try to communicate a sense of growth, personal growth, and I'm trying to help you link it to the horses, because it's all good and well to talk about growth, personal development, but it will be very hard for people to understand, but what's that got to do with walking with the horse? And that's what I'm trying to link for.
And I think you do that exceptionally well, Mel. I was just thinking how I don't know if I've thought this before, but when you said we've done over or coming up to 500 of these walks over the last 3 years, I thought How lucky are you that you get to do this for a job, basically? You get to walk in
So
the forest with horses and meet really cool, incredible people and have these conversations. I just had that moment of, wow, you're
yeah,
so lucky. I feel the
pause
same way
there
about
and,
what I do.
and add.
Yeah.
Can I pause so I don't talk over the top of you and add? Um, in addition to that, so I still pinch myself.
Yeah.
I still pinch myself that the girl 3 years ago or the woman 3 years ago that said, I'm just going to try this and I'm prepared for people to laugh at me because why would you walk with the horse instead of ride the horse? And I'm prepared to fail. I just have to try it before I die.
Yeah.
I still pinch myself that 3 years on. Um, it, it, I have created this. I have created this for myself and for my horses. And I feel obliged, I feel compelled, is actually the word,
Yeah.
to share all the goodness. There's so much goodness.
Yeah.
The farm itself, 80 acres here in the Adelaide Hills, which is end of a no through road, total and utter blissful peace here.
Yes.
And you
Oh, it
commented
is.
on that on
It
Saturday.
is. I can vouch for that. Yeah.
Just no noise, no traffic, no neighbours. It's what the horses deserve. And I battled for a long time about with guilt that why should I, why do I, why, how can one person deserve all of this? And the way I actually sought help, I sought help for managing guilt. I had a lot of guilt in relation to the loss of my brother being younger than me. I
Mhm.
felt that I should have been the one to go because my marriage had just failed. He'd only just been married 1 year. I'd been here 5 years longer than him here on earth, etc. And I actually sought professional help. So I want to be clear on that. But
Mm.
the help that I sought was equine therapy.
Yes.
And that's where things really started to change for me. I remember introducing myself to the lady, telling her that I had 5 horses and that I wanted to do the horse wisdom program with her. This is here in Harndorf, so that I could understand why I have never felt fear amongst horses ever from whenever I can remember as a child, and understand why I naturally feel like I am part of my herd of, at the time was 5 horses.
Mm.
And the things that I came away with great new awareness and self-awareness changed my life. It changed my life.
Yeah.
And so the person that I am now, the person running this business and the person with this huge vision, I call it our manifesto.
Mm.
And I say our because it's nothing without my horses,
Mhm.
and we are nothing without all of our guests, our customers, our incredible, I call it the Sublime community
Yeah.
that's growing all around us. That's now international. We've got people
Yeah.
in other countries, Switzerland, Ireland, France,
Wow.
New Zealand, that have walked with us, that are watching and following and wanting, all the energy there for
Yeah.
wanting this to keep growing and to see this vision come to life.
Yeah.
The vision, if I may, Beck, is for a program that I've named Sublime Intervention,
Mhm.
and it's to intervene both in the fate of horses, such as ex-race horses,
Mhm.
that in the case of one of our horses, Torquay, he was headed for euthanasia because of being physically unsound, is the word that the industry uses, unable to be ridden. And he had so much more to give at 8 years of age when he came out of the racing industry. So I'm just incredibly fortunate to have met him at the
Mm.
time that this all went down, which was October 2020. So I want to be able to intervene in the fate of horses like him, the fate of brumbies that are being culled by the government as feral pests. And I want to do it without activism. I don't see myself as an activist. I actually want to educate and inspire and bring about, drive positive change. So the program that I see is based on the concept walking with horses in nature, and it is to be able to give forever homes to many more of these horses with subsidised funding, not from the government, but from the horse racing industry. That is my vision. And
Wow.
that subsidised funding is to then be able to make the program accessible to people that may not otherwise be able to afford it.
Wow, what an incredible vision, Mel. I'm really excited to watch you create that. And I feel very privileged to have been with you from the beginning, like just seeing this come off the ground, like just an idea at the time. And I am so excited to see this grow for you and have this program come to life. It's such an important thing. As a horse lover from way back myself, I love what you're doing, especially when you hear the stories of these horses, like you were just mentioning, Torquay, weren't you? Um, and rehomed racehorse. And of course, at the time that we're recording this particular podcast, Melbourne Cup is nearly upon us, and so there's a lot of that in the news. And I I'm 100% behind you and your stance for that. And I look forward to seeing more of these beautiful rescued or rehomed racehorses in your future. I love that you were talking earlier about, well, you mentioned that you'd had equine therapy. And I wanted to mention that, of course, this is not equine therapy, it is different.
I'm
But you
very clear about.
Yes, it is very different. I have had equine therapy myself, and I can tell you it was one of the most transformative experiences of my life. And I think that's what I love about the services that you offer. It's not therapy, but oh my goodness, it feels like therapy sometimes when you're there because you know what you that's what you said before. It's like, who would think, like, just going for a walk with a horse? It's like, well, la di da, we're just going for a walk. But what happens in these moments is, like you said, it's different for everyone. But these horses are so intuitive that it's like they're mirroring what is going on with you. And so it's not just going for a walk with a horse. You know, we were talking about this on Saturday. A horse is very good at teaching you what boundaries you have for or don't have, for example. And so, you know, that's why I think it's very aligned with the Brain Changes listeners because these are the types of things that we talk about. Like I said, it's not just walking with a horse. We're being taught boundaries. Um, we're being taught what it is that we're giving or what we're taking. And one of the things that I love about the experience that you offer is that you notice things because this is all about being mindful, right? Being present, connecting. So many of us are missing meaningful connection these days. As they say, we're more connected from a digital perspective than we've ever been in our lives, and yet we're so disconnected from other humans in so many circumstances. So what you give is this opportunity to really connect. And one of the things I love about the experience is that you just point out these tiny little things or seemingly tiny little things.
Yes, yes, good word.
Seemingly, we'll put that word in there, seemingly tiny little things like you know, I think I remember the first time and this is coming from someone who has experience with horses, but it's been, you know, 20 plus years how we hold the rope, whether it's a tight grip and the shoulders are up here, and you know, eventually we get to relax and we've got soft hands, and then those little changes in the horse's behavior, like they might be walking differently, whether it's ahead or behind, and just some small adjustments that we can make, and then the difference that the horse obviously feels from it in their body, and then the difference you would probably see in the human's body and demeanor. And even those like, oh, the horse has their ears pointing ahead or they've turned their ear, and all the little nuances, all these little things that happen throughout the walk. And I love that you point these out, and it's a teachable moment. So you're absolutely there to enjoy, but there's so many things that we can pick up along this experience as well that helps us after we float away in our day-to-day
Yes,
life as well.
so much. Oh, so if I may, I'd
Yes,
love to kind of carry on from what you're
please.
saying there. the way that I describe it, and this I do find easier to communicate in words without necessarily having a horse here out in nature.
Yeah.
The way I describe it is that you are influencing the outcome. You are influencing how things are going to go with your horse.
Yeah.
So all the things you've just said, and I'm not going to go into the detail of why or how it works,
No, go
but
through
all
an experienced for that.
that's it. That's right. But all the things you've just said are great examples, and I'm impressed how much you remember actually. But
Thank you.
particularly the soft hands and the way in which you hold the rope. But I have this expression, sublime synchrony.
Mm.
What I mean by that, to me, the reason I chose the word sublime for our name is I see horses as sublime. Sublime is sacred, awesome. And to me, that's what every horse, no matter what breed, no matter what economic value, no matter their papers or no papers, to me, that is how I've always seen horses, right up high on a pedestal. Awesome.
Uh-huh.
And when I talk about sublime synchrony, that is falling into synchrony. Think of synchronized swimmers at the Olympics together at the same time. So footstep to footstep, hoofbeat to footbeat, if you will, heartbeat to heartbeat. And that's all scientifically proven. I'm not going to go into that. But our hearts synchronize as we start to tune into each other, the horse and the human's heart. The synchrony that I then see, for some people, it takes longer. For other people, we've barely left the car park and they're into this synchrony straight away. Yeah. For some people, it's just a glimpse. There's just like a step, which is you're in synchrony, and then you come back out again. And so that's my job on the trail, is to help to create that space, for want of a better word, for the guest, the human, and their horse that I've chosen as their match. And I've got reasons for why I've chosen one of the 7 horses for them as their match. Mm-hmm. That's what this is all about. And then that feeling, you either may become aware of it, that you've suddenly fallen into synchrony with your horse, and you know it because your horse's head is right next to your shoulder. So when I say eye to eye, I mean, I really do mean eye to eye.
Yes.
And we're talking, your horse's head is right there. It's not up high, because that would be the horse in alert mode. Yes. It's not down low, which they'd be more interested in smelling the ground or stopping at the grass or what have you. It's right there by free will, by their own choice. They're carrying their head horizontal in line with their spine, their neck and head, which shows that they are beautifully relaxed. Their ears forward show that they're wonderfully engaged with their environment. They're happy to be out there with you. And you touched on it before, you used your hand to show the ear that's closest to you turning. And when that ear turns to you, I really love to point out that it's a beautiful sign of respect and acknowledgement from your horse to you. It's the equivalent of us making eye contact with each other. Yeah. So I see all of that from my place behind or off to the side or out in front, and I capture that for people in photos and in videos.
Yes, you do.
And really, we're really into the essence now. So you've got to understand that this is a loose lead rope. There's no tension or pressure or tightness on that rope whatsoever. You're not holding their head there. They are choosing to walk that close to you and hold their head next to you. Yeah. And that is just an image of connection and harmony and synchrony.
Yes, love that word. And I think that's one of the things that we had a conversation about this on Saturday. I learn something new every time I come to on one of these experiences, Mel. And what I really enjoyed with that conversation is a lot of us perhaps who were around horses when we were younger, maybe even deep into the horse world, showing horses, what have you, or even just a hack in the paddock kind of thing, we were taught a certain way. And I would personally describe it perhaps as I think there was some harshness around it. You know, there was some strong words and some strong rein pulling, and so, you know, that really harsh kind of training. We even touched on it that's how I was taught to train my first dog when I was a teenager, you know, with the choker chain and what have you. I don't see any need for that whatsoever in now, now that I have learned a different way. And what you were able to what you've been able to teach me during these experiences is that there is a completely different way to engage with a horse, to be with a horse, to train a horse, even just even the way that you talk to your horses and ask them not to do something or to do
Or
something
to do,
differently,
or
or yeah,
invite, yes,
yes, or
invite
to
them
even
to come and join me.
that's right. I think you were asking Saxon to back up so we could get through a gate, and there was no getting into his shoulder and pushing him. You just gently asked him to do it and gave him a moment so that he could understand what it was that you wanted him to do. And lo and behold, he did it. So that's what I love. There's a real gentleness around this, but you're also educating people. So people like myself who, you know, we've got experience with horses, but this is very different. We're on the ground, we're not riding these horses. Um, I don't really know what I'm trying to say there. I just absolutely love that you
I
offer
do.
this.
I
Do
do.
you?
Thank you. Thank you. And there's one element there that you haven't mentioned
Yeah.
with asking Saxon to take a step or two back for us so we could open the gate. Breath.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot, you've talked about mindfulness. There's a lot of intentional use or conscious use of our breath
Yes.
that is a large factor in, you've talked about this very different way and you've used the word gentle. I've actually called it it being the training and socialization program that I've developed over the years with my horses. I call it the Sublime Way.
Of
And the
course.
reason I use the word way is because it's not a method, it's not a technique, and it's certainly not horse training
No.
specific. And this, I just said earlier, previously, was um, what I am teaching people at the start is how they are able to influence the outcome the moment that they take foot set out on the trail. Now, I say the trail is very significant because the trail is a public environment. It's not a controlled environment like an arena.
Mm.
So most people think of horses, and most people in the horse world, I don't think it would be a stretch to say, would know horses from a ridden perspective within an arena. But
Mm.
as I said at the start, my attraction has always been exploring the out there in the real world.
Yeah.
I never wanted to go around and around an arena and jumping, and none of it interests me. The
Yeah.
showing and pretty plaiting of manes and tails. I wanted to get in the saddle and off I go and see where the path takes us.
Yeah.
So what I say is out there is totally uncontrolled.
Mm.
So the very first where we start is an acknowledgement and an acceptance of the fact that we are choosing to go out there with a horse next to us, knowing that anything can happen.
Yeah.
And in taking that responsibility and saying, I choose to do this, then we've already got past a huge hurdle. And now we are walking in full awareness and full acceptance that whatever I do here will influence how this walk goes.
Mm.
The way I am, the way I hold my arms and shoulders, and the tightness or tension or lack of tension in my hands, the way I acknowledge the change in my horse's body language. If I choose to make eye contact with my horse, if I choose to touch my horse on his neck or shoulder to say, it's okay, mate. I can see there's something there that you can see or you've picked up on. I can't see it, but I know that there's something there because you're showing me there is. So
Mm.
you're deferring to your horse's intelligence, what
Mm.
they know. And suddenly now you are a team. Really, you're like a one. You're a whole. And that whole, I the easiest way to say it is the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So when you take the horse and the human with this approach, so this sublime way that we've been talking about, and you head out there into the uncontrolled environment, whether this applies to riding and walking, but the business is walking, you have created something now, you and your horse together, even though you've never been near a horse before, and even though you've only met this horse 1 hour earlier, because of what you now know, or I call it know-how, what I share with you and how I guide you, you have now created something very, very strong.
Yeah.
And you have a horse next to you who trusts you and who is prepared to let you know when there's something there they're anxious about or unsure about, and then look to you for guidance as to how do you want to deal with this? How are we going to, what are we going to do here?
Yeah.
And I'll leave it there.
Okay.
Hopefully that gives you an idea of how powerful this is. And yes. I also want to draw the connection between influencing the outcome on the trail and then taking that back to daily life and realizing how much power you have to influence the course of your own life, to influence how things unfold for you tonight at home with your family or your partner, to influence how things are going to unfold for you tomorrow when you drive to work or get on the bus or go into work with the boss, or et cetera, et cetera. It's infinite.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you came back to that point. I wrote that down before, influencing the outcome. And you've said it beautifully. I don't even need to say anything there. But one thing that I did pick up on when you were talking there is out there is uncontrolled. And so we are set with the horse. And so we're essentially, like you said, we're choosing to do that. It's a wonderful opportunity to let go. So for those people actually listening who find themselves saying, I need to be in control, the typical words, I don't like them, but this is what I hear people say, I'm a control freak. Of course, the reason I don't like that kind of language is when we identify as something like that, it becomes our reality. But anyone who perhaps sees themselves that way or feels that way or finds it really hard to let go or let go of control, this is
definitely for you.
This is made for you.
Definitely for you, yes. And I'm excited. I'm excited and I'm smiling because that was me.
Yes.
I did not like the person that I was, and I now love the person that I am. And I tell my guests that proudly. That was me. Yeah. And I was unable to regulate my emotions. I was unable to trust that things would work out well for me. I am the person I was before is a shadow of who I am now. So where you're bringing up, you hear people say these words that I am a control freak. Oh, this is most definitely for you.
Absolutely.
And if you like me to, I could give you an example. I could keep it brief, but I'll leave that to you, Beck.
Well, we're going to wrap up shortly in a moment, Mel. But yeah, I think this is definitely, it's one of those things you may be pushed out of your comfort zone. That is what this work is all about. If you don't like being pushed out, or if you're not prepared to be pushed out of your comfort zone, I don't think you would be listening to this podcast, because this is what we are all about, right? And when we're starting to feel uncomfortable, we are on the edge of growth. And growth is what we're here for, right? We want to, there's a lot of cliches around it, be the best that we can be the best version, that kind of thing, whatever it is. But we're always endeavoring to go to that next level, whatever that next level is. It's different for everyone. But getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, I'd say put yourself on the trail with one of these horses. It is going to teach you a lot about yourself and about exactly what you said, the influence, how much influence you have on yourself and on the world around you. I think that's a beautiful way to talk about it. Mel, I'd love to just share where people can find you, or how they might go about experiencing one of these beautiful sessions with you. Can you tell us how to find you?
Sure, there's the website is the first place I would direct people to. So very easy, walksublime.com.au, walksublime.com.au.
Beautiful.
Very
We
easy.
will put that in the show notes.
You can Google walking with horses in nature. And we have pretty active social media pages.
Yeah.
Again, and a Walk Sublime. There's a contact page on the website, which makes it really easy. If you have an inquiry, that'll come straight through to me. Um, I think that's everything.
Yeah, I really do encourage you to check out the website. I've got it on my screen at the moment, and I've actually got it on the guest stories page, and you probably know why. Is because this is one of our favorite photos, isn't it, Mel? This was the first experience I ever had with you, up in Kaipo Forest, and it's you and me and two of your horses. It's what we lovingly refer to as the bum shot because it's just a
For
picture of these four
four
beautiful
bums.
bums. And we're just having the most wonderful time. But have a look at the website. There's all of your experiences are there. There's lots of guest stories or testimonials from people who will describe their experience with you. Uh, like you said, your vision, your manifesto, you share so much of your own story and so much of the horses' stories on there. And that's why I love following you on socials as well, because we get to be there. Like you're so good at taking videos of the horses in their natural environment and pointing out all the wonderful things that you get from it and that the horses get from this, because this is not one-sided. You are giving them a beautiful life. And I can say from my own experience, even just on Saturday, they are very happy. They absolutely love it there and it
Very
shows. Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate that. There's one last point I'd like to leave you
please.
with, and it's just a gorgeous way to end. I have learned that there is, you can think something, you can believe something, or you can know something. And they're all very different. And only when you have the awareness, when you can catch yourself and go, that's a thought that's just come into my mind. All of this is we talk about this at the start before we head out on the trail. Or you will choose what you want to believe in. That's a choice, and you choose to behave and act according to what you believe. But to know something is very different. And when I say the word powerful, knowing is because you are tuned into yourself, you're able to hear and feel your gut reactions to things. And then the way that you know something is because you have lived it. So you make a decision according to your intuition, and then you follow that through, and then suddenly you know, that was a good decision, or maybe I do it slightly differently next time, or maybe I won't do that again. So lived experience is knowing. And when you get to that point that you're willing to seek out, how do I access this knowing? I want to know what my path is. How do I access it? And then once you start down on that journey, when you start along that path on that journey, that I truly believe is how we will change the world. Changing the world starts with each one of us forming our own knowings of what we are here to do. So I live in the privilege of having found my purpose or knowing what I am here to do. And I consider that to be my mission, is now to help other people who are wanting to find what is my purpose. Now, if I said that to you right at the start, walking with a horse in the forest, there's no way that would go down. So I do hope that ending on that, with everything that we've discussed, I hope that there's enough there for you to be able to kind of grasp what I'm sharing.
Honestly, Mel, I could not have wrapped this episode up better than that, and I'm not even going to try.
I think it's time to say goodbye.
I love it. And I thank you for sharing that. I consider myself, and I love the words you use, it's my privilege to have found my purpose and to now be able to help other people find theirs. So with that, Mel, thank you so much for coming and sharing so deeply and so personally today on the Brain Changes podcast. I'm very, very grateful to finally have had you on to share this. And to our listeners, I have no doubt that you have taken a lot from this chat. Please do get in touch with Mel. Please do experience what she and her beautiful 7 horses have to offer on a Walk Sublime. And remember, of course, as always, when you change your mind, you change your life. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Brain Changes. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation today. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest episodes. Our mission is to reach as many people as possible to help them revolutionize the way they think so they can change their brain and create profound transformation. Please help us broaden our reach by sharing this episode with someone you know will benefit. And remember to tag us on socials at Moonbeam Monday and leave a review. And remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. We'll catch you next time for another episode of The Brain Changes.